Hello, how you doing? I thought it was about time I checked in, did one of these vlog videos. I know it's been a while. The problem is that if you leave it for a long time in between doing this sort of thing, especially if you want to sort of sit down and talk about the games you've beat, it actually becomes more difficult because obviously you've got so many games that you've played that you think, oh, I'm never gonna have time to sort of talk about these in any detail. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably just going to show some pickups, and I might talk about the odd game that I played here or there. You've probably noticed that I've been a little bit more active on YouTube recently anyway, despite the fact I've not been doing any of these vlogs. There's a couple of reasons for that. One reason is that I've got better internet than what I had before. That was always a bit of a bottleneck for me, uploading stuff. My internet was quite slow and it would take quite a long time to get anything uploaded really, so that's not really an issue anymore. So I can basically, get more content out. But the other reason is that I upgraded my capture setup. So not only is it a bit easier for me to do the VHS tapes, that was a bit of a problem on my old setup because the hard disk on my laptop wasn't the fastest, so every now and again I'd drop frames and things like that, so I'd have to sort of re-record the bits where the frames had dropped and splice them in, and that takes a bit of time. But I can also record current games that I'm playing as well now, which I haven't really been able to do apart from on the PS4. And I know the capturing on the PS4 isn't the greatest quality. I mean, it's better than not having it at all. But I've got an Elgato now and a nice new laptop to capture anything that I'm playing really now, as long as it's HDMI. Well, actually, no, I have got a RGB converter as well, so anything with RGB or HDMI I can capture now, so that's what I've been doing. So obviously it gives me, in with the new internet, the fast internet, that means I can put more content out. But I just haven't got around to doing one of these pickup videos, so I thought it was about time. It's actually getting a little bit dark outside now, so I've got a torch next to me because I've got a feeling that you might not be able to see some of this stuff. But yeah, it's been a while, so I've actually got quite a few things to show you. And I had a birthday sort of semi recently as well, so I'll start off with the birthday stuff. So first up, and this is probably the jewel in the crown of all the stuff that I've got recently. It's not actually a PlayStation game. Most of this stuff that I'm about to show you is PlayStation, but there's a couple that aren't. And I'll probably show you the couple that aren't, the two that aren't, to start off with. So we'll start off with this. This is a birthday present from my brother. Zelda Breath of the Wild on the Wii U. Really been wanting to get that. You might be wondering why I haven't got it on the Switch. I'm not really interested in the Switch, to be honest with you. I know that it's getting a few props at the moment. People are quite liking it, but it's not. Doesn't really seem to be my sort of system. I mean, I don't mind handhelds. I mean, I play the iPad every now and again. I play the 3DS every now and again. I've got a Vita. I don't really play that much at all, although I like to play Vita games on the PSTV. And I actually really like the Wii U. I'm probably one of the few people that actually really enjoyed the Wii U. I mean, I haven't played that many games on it, but the games that I have played, I've really enjoyed, and I really like having the second controller with the extra screen on it. I think that does make quite a big difference in certain games, and it's got some pretty good exclusives on it. So this is probably going to be the last Wii U game that I get for the foreseeable future. I mean, I've got most of the ones I want anyway, but obviously if you've watched any of my videos you'll know that I'm a big Zelda fan, and this is one that I just had to get really. So oh, better adjust my camera there, sorry. So yeah, massive thanks to my brother and his crew for getting me this. It's really appreciated. Funnily enough, I've actually played since my last video. This is how long it's been. I've actually managed to complete 3 Zelda games, because you might remember that I'm sort of going through them in chronological order, and I think the last time I talked about one was the Minish Cap on the Game Boy Advance, and since then I've played Twilight Princess, the HD version on the Wii U. I thought that was excellent. I love that. That's probably my second favourite Zelda game now, under Majora's Mask being my top favourite. Some people don't seem to like Twilight Princess. I think a lot of the people that don't like Twilight Princess probably played it on the Wii. I don't actually think, from what I've seen, the Wii is the best place to play that game because it's mirrored, and that's not originally how it was meant to be. They mirrored it because the other big bone of contention is you use motion controls, and they wanted Link to use his right hand because normally he uses his left hand. And that's not really the way that game was designed to be played. So I think a lot of people that played Twilight Princess might not have sort of liked it as much as other Zelda games, maybe for those reasons. But if you're going to play it, play the Wii U version, because it not only does it look great, it looks amazing. I mean, I really enjoyed that generation of graphics. The sort of the fifth, it's the fifth or the sixth generation, because the Wii kind of sort of lapped over, and you've got to consider that there was also a GameCube game as well. I really like those graphics when they're sort of rezzed up in HD. I think they look really, really good, and the Twilight Princess is no exception. And it's just a really, really good Zelda game. And it's probably like the least original Zelda game out of all of them, because you could say it was like a reworking of Ocarina of Time. But I still thought it was great. I really liked it. And I also played Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land, which is one of the lesser known Zelda. It's not really a Zelda game, but it's in the Zelda franchise, which is basically a DS game where you play as Tingle, and I thought that was pretty good. It's kind of different for a Zelda game. I mean, it's definitely a Zelda game in that you've got an overworld with dungeons and bosses and things like that, but it's slightly different game mechanics, and it's quite enjoyable. And I also played Four Swords Adventures, which is one that I never thought I would actually be able to play because I don't have a GameCube. I don't really have, well, I didn't at the time have the right sort of display screen to hook a GameCube up to. Now I probably have now, but I'm not sure how good that would look on the HD screen. But because I got this new laptop, this new PC to do capturing, I got the Dolphin emulator, and I thought I'd try that out, and I didn't actually think it was going to work very well. But it turns out it does, and Four Swords Adventures runs really, really well on that. And I played through that a couple of weeks ago actually, and that was pretty good. Kind of old school, very sort of Link to the Past inspired game, but not bad. I prefer the 3D Zeldas, but that was pretty good. So yeah, I feel like I've been really sort of racing through the Zelda series. And funny enough, when my brother gave this to me, Breath of the Wild, he said, "Oh, you probably won't get around to playing that for years." But oh no, you'd be surprised. I'm sort of getting there. I think I've got to do the two DS games next. I've got to do Skyward Sword. There's a few on the 3DS, and yeah, I reckon that I will get around to this sooner than he might think. But anyway, I've got immense thanks for getting me that. Anyway, this is probably the game that I most wanted out of all the games I'm going to show you, even though it's not a PlayStation game. Okay, next up, this is a couple of games that I got from my mum. This next one isn't a PlayStation game. It's an Xbox One exclusive, Recore. Again, I'm quite interested in getting all the exclusives that interest me on the Xbox One. And this one definitely looked up my street. From what I know about it, it's an action adventure, maybe a little bit sort of 3D platformer. Sort of, I think it might be open world as well, which is something I really like. It's made by the same company that did Mighty Number 9. And I'm not really interested in Mighty Number 9. I know that people, that hasn't been going down very well with a lot of people for a few reasons, but it's not really my sort of game anyway. In particular, I mean, I would, if it was like a PS Plus title, I got Mighty Number 9 for free with PS Plus, then probably give it a go. But it's not something that I'm going to buy necessarily. But this seemed a little bit more up my street, this Recore game, and it's been updated recently as well. I think they've done like a new version of it with updated graphics and extra content, and I think that I haven't opened this yet, obviously it's still sealed, but I think that when I put this in the Xbox One it will update to that new version for free, so that should be pretty good hopefully. So everything else now from here on in the physical stuff. I might go through some of the digital stuff I bought, maybe. But everything else, physical wise, at least in this, is going to be all PlayStation stuff. So next, we got this. This is the other thing I got from my mum. The other game I got from my mum for my birthday. Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate on the Vita. I know I said that I don't play the Vita much earlier, but this actually does work on the PSTV, which is good. Now, the funny thing is I forgot that this was actually on PS3. And the version on PS3 might be a little bit better than the one on Vita. I've heard that they might have cleaned up the graphics a little bit, and it might have extra content. But I'm not too fussed because it's nice to have a physical version of this. I haven't got many physical Vita games. In fact, the only other one I've got is the Silent Hill one, the infamous sort of isometric dungeon crawler Silent Hill game. That's the only other physical Vita game that I own. So it's nice to have another one. And obviously I'm a big fan, if you've watched any of my videos, you know that I'm a big fan of Batman Arkham series. I know that this is more of a 2.5D kind of job than a full 3D game, but I actually played a little bit of this and it does seem pretty good. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting into more of this at some point, probably very soon actually. Okay, and these next two, my friend Mandy got me. She nearly always gets me a couple of games for my birthday, a couple of games for Christmas. And yeah, she did well this year. She got me this. This is really good. This is a used copy, but it's really, really good condition. A game on the PS3 called The Cursed Crusade. Now, this might be one of those... I've heard a few things about this. Some people say this is terrible. Some people say this is one of those sort of so bad it's good sort of games. It looks very cheesy. With a name like The Cursed Crusade, but I don't know, it sort of piqued my interest. It might be one of those sort of games that not many people like. It didn't go down very well with a lot of people, but I might still like it. It does look interesting, and when I sort of reading the manual, and it might be interesting. I don't really know what to say about it though, because all I really know is that it's called The Cursed Crusade, and it's kind of like maybe sort of like a hack and slash type game, quite story focused. That's about all I know really, but I might enjoy it, you never know. And she got me a new game as well. This is brand new sealed. This was on my list that of potential games that she could get me. Never Dead, published by Konami. I know Konami has sort of fallen out of favour of late, but they, you've got to hand it to them. In the past, they have done some really good stuff. They've done quite a lot of sort of my favourite game series. And again, like The Cursed Crusade, this one sort of met with a kind of lukewarm response in the media, but I have heard of a few people that actually quite like this game and think it's all right. And again, it's an original concept for a game. It looks interesting. It looks like it might have a kind of a Devil May Cry kind of atmosphere to it. I don't know, it's sort of demons and things like that. But one of the twists in the game is I think the guy can remove his limbs and his head and things like that, and you sort of use those as puzzles. So I don't know, that might be quite interesting. I mean, it's October at the moment, so I don't know if this would be a good game for Halloween, possibly, but I might give it a go, time allowing, over the next couple of weeks. Okay, so that was the birthday stuff. These next couple of games are games that I bought to play over the summer. I don't know if you remember, last summer I actually did a vlog where I sort of showed quite a few games that I bought to play over the summer. Surprise, surprise, I never actually got round to playing a lot of them. A lot of those games are still sitting sealed on my shelf. I do really want to play them, but it's just the time, isn't it? I play games a lot, but you still can't play everything. So this year I sort of decided, you know what, I'm not going to do that this year. I've done that for the last few years. This year I'm going to just buy a couple of games. I'm going to look at 2 games that I really, really want, and I'll get them and I'll play them. And if there's any time after summer's done, I might get a couple of others. And as it turns out, I only played one of them, and the other one I actually still have in the unbox. So I'll unbox that after I've shown this one. But this is the one that I played, Horizon Zero Dawn. and I actually platinumed this. I really got into this. I thought that this is a fantastic game. I knew that it was going to be up my street because it's definitely the sort of thing I'm into. I mean, it's a Western RPG. It's massive open world. It's got like a really sort of good premise, sort of post-apocalyptic premise, even though it is more of a fantasy RPG. But the way that they weave in the sort of sci-fi stuff is really well done. It's got a really sort of interesting, intriguing story. I mean, most of the world that you explore is like typical sort of fantasy world, and it's actually meant to be Earth. And I think it's sort of parts of America that you're sort of travelling around in the game. But every now and again, the way they've done it is like a sort of a fantasy kind of world. I mean, you've got, you know, your forests and your deserts and things like that. It's all very well done. But every now and again, you'll stumble upon, no spoilers, but you'll stumble upon some sort of really sort of futuristic parts that reminded me a little bit of the Terminator or the Matrix or something like that. And yeah, it's just a really good game. It reminds me a little bit of, also, as well as being an RPG, it plays a little bit like the last couple of Tomb Raider games. So if you want to imagine, you know, that sort of gameplay with all the sort of the leaping about, the climbing, the using a bow and arrow, the stealthing it up, things like that. And that sort of really fluid movement that you have in the Tomb Raider games, or the modern Tomb Raider games at least. Couple that with a massive big open world RPG. I know that the last couple of Tomb Raider games have been sort of open world, but they haven't been open world like this. This is absolutely huge. There's no loading times. The thing about Tomb Raider is that it's little sort of sections. It's open world, but you've got the game's sort of broken up. It's kind of like Zelda, where it's broken up into sort of little sections that you sort of travel to. This is just one big world that you can sort of go from one end to the other. There won't be any loading times at all. And some of the views that you get are absolutely incredible. I mean, there was time playing it where I had to just stop and just look around and thinking, wow, this is... I don't think I've ever seen anything like this in a game before. I mean, you can see for miles. If you go to the top of one of the mountains, and you know, you can sort of see these massive robot things, these sort of machines that they call them in the game, far off in the distance, and you know that is a massive thing. When you're standing next to it, it's like the size of a kind of a small skyscraper. And you can see this sort of tiny little speck. You can sort of make it out in the distance and think, wow, I'm seeing all of that distance. It's incredible. Very long game as well, if you really get into this. I mean, I played this on the hard difficulty, and it took me about 120 hours to completely finish it. I platinumed it. And that's one of the reasons why I never got around to playing the second game that I bought. This was basically most of my summer, this game, Horizon Zero Dawn. I actually really like the way they did the trophies as well, because they've got... you can actually get the platinum. You don't have to get 100% of the trophies to get the platinum. There's 2 trophies which, quite rightly, they made as like extras that you don't need to get the platinum. And those are beating the game on New Game Plus, and one of them, I think, he's beating the game on New Game Plus on the very hardest difficulty, like the ultra hard setting. I played this on hard, and I think that it was actually a decent challenge. It wasn't super hard on hard, but it was about the sort of difficulty that I would have expected it to be for a modern game at least. But there's no way, after sort of spending 120 hours, that I'd want to sort of sit and play through it all again on the maxed out hard setting just to get, I think it was a bronze trophy, so I could get the platinum. So it's good that they made those 2 trophies not essential, not compulsory to get the platinum. Okay, so on to the game that I never got around to playing. This is actually, yeah, as you can see, it's still in the box. And this is the second game I've ever pre-ordered. The first game I ever pre-ordered actually wasn't that long ago. It was Rare Replay on the Xbox One. I don't even know why I pre-ordered that. I think it was just so cheap. I thought, oh, I might as well, because I didn't really have that much stuff on the Xbox One. And Rare Replay is actually one of the reasons I bought the Xbox One. This one I pre-ordered not necessarily because I wanted to play it straight away, obviously, because I still haven't even opened it yet. I'm just opening it now. But it was one of those deals where if you pre-order it, you get it for really cheap. I got this I can't see myself getting this any cheaper anyway, not at least in the next sort of year or so. And it's this. Probably not a big surprise that I got this as my other summer game, Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. If you probably know, if you've watched any of my videos when I've been talking about Uncharted, I really like Uncharted. It's one of my favourite series of modern sort of game series. And oh yeah, this looks a really good one. I think it's like a sort of a smaller Uncharted game. Not that Uncharted games are that long, but I think this might be about half the length of your regular Uncharted game. And it's not Nathan Drake. You play as, I can't even remember their names, is that Chloe or something from Uncharted 2? And I can't remember her name, but she's the South African girl, the badass one, that like kicks the crap out of you in Uncharted 4. Sorry if that's a spoiler. But yeah, they're both pretty good characters, and I'm not sure when I'm going to get around to play this, because this seemed like a really good summer game, because this is set in India, which is obviously, you know, a hot place, good place to have a game to play during the summer. And it's sort of October now, so I don't know when I'm going to get around to playing this. It might be a good Christmas game, like a sort of good Christmas blockbuster game, but I had to get it anyway because it's Uncharted. So yeah, that's probably going to be fairly high on my games to play list. Probably bump that quite up the queue, far up the queue. Okay, so these next, I've got 4 more games here. These are all PS2 games. When I got my new sort of capture set up, then I had this sort of like moment of excitement where I thought, wow, all these PS2 games and these PS1 games and these PS3 games and you know, other platforms as well that I've got that I haven't played, I can capture them now. And you just sort of get this really sort of exciting feeling. It reminds me of when I started out, you know, recording videos on games on VHS, and you just get really excited at the thought of it adds a new dimension to playing the game in a way, the fact that you can sort of capture it and archive it and sort of have it there forever, the memories of that game. And it just sort of inspired me to pick up a few more PS2 games on top of all the ones that I've already got. Just really because, I don't know, I just had this sort of fresh sort of wave of inspiration. I thought, yeah, I can get these games captured. I'm not even sure if any of these games are on YouTube. I expect they are. That's not something I really check really before doing anything like that. But anyway, I'll show you. These are all cheap. They're really cheap PS2 games. What I did was I went through, I went onto GameFAQs and I just basically got every game that was on PS2 categorised under the action-adventure genre, and laid all that out, all the PAL games obviously, and just went through all the ones that I didn't have that I thought I might like and weren't too expensive. I got. I actually did order 5. One of them didn't turn up, so I had to get a refund on that, and I still haven't reordered that again. But I'll show you the 4 that did turn up. So we've got. I can't vouch for the quality of some of these. These are sort of like the, you know, like the sort of the game equivalent of B movies, I suppose, but they're still ones that I'd really want to play and capture. So we've got King Arthur. It's another Konami game, and this is like a film license. I think it's a film license anyway. I've not seen the film of this game, and I don't have any plans on seeing it either. But I think this might be a kind of a little bit like a sort of a beat 'em up, fantasy beat 'em up, a little bit like some of the Lord of the Rings games that came out on PS2. You know, like the Two Towers and the Return of the King, and I enjoy those games. So if this is like that, and then yeah, I might like it, and it might be a good one to capture as well. It might not be, I don't know. We got Conflict Global Storm. I uploaded it actually. I did a playthrough of that sort of early summer of the first game in this series, Conflict Desert Storm. And I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's an old game, but I found it quite fun and it played really well. And I quite like that sort of light strategy, light squad command, good level design, a bit of shooting. Yeah, it was a good game. And surprisingly, you know, considering how old it is and being a sort of an early title for that generation, And there's 5 games in this Conflict series, and this was the only one that I didn't have. There's Conflict Desert Storm 2, which I've got, Conflict Vietnam, obviously the original Desert Storm. You've got a first-person shooter, because they sort of tried to change direction a little bit on the PS3, which I've got, and I've actually played that, and it's okay. And there's this was the only one I didn't have, Conflict Global Storm. And this actually got some pretty good reviews. This one is kind of, as you'd expect from the name, set all around the world. So I guess you've got your crew there, and you go around the world stamping out terrorism or something like that. But yeah, I reckon this will be a pretty good one, because I did enjoy Desert Storm. Well, I've got 2 more. Okay, The Great Escape. This, funny enough, is made by the same people that do Conflict Desert Devil Storm. Conflict's Halloween, so I've got Halloween on the mind. Conflict's not Halloween, but it's October, you know what I mean. Pivotal Games that do the Conflict series do this as well. This is the same engine. And if you remember from probably a couple of videos back, I was talking about playing another game where you escape from a World War II prison camp called Prisoner of War, and I really enjoyed that. So I thought, well, this is going to be a similar thing, obviously, because this is based on the Great Escape movie, and it's the Conflict Desert Storm engine, which, you know, I quite enjoyed that game. So yeah, this might be a good one of my sort of World War II Christmas games to play. So yeah, we'll see what that's like. Funny enough, that says £9.99 on there, but I didn't play £9.99 for this. I think I probably played about £2 or something for this. And finally, this was a cheap one. This isn't a used one though. I got this one new, because I think that the price new was not that much more than it was used. So it's Mission Impossible, Operation Suma. I really like sort of stealthy Splinter Cell kind of type games from this generation, and I've played all the Splinter Cell games on the PS2, and I've played all the Metal Gear Solid games, and pretty much most of the well-known, quite famous sort of stealthy, secret agent-y type games. And I was looking at reviews of this, and this is meant to be very generic, and apparently this was in development hell for quite a long time. But I don't know, it might be okay. I don't think it's a bad game from what I've read about it. I mean, it's just not very original. It's like a sort of a Splinter Cell rip-off. But if you've already played all of the Splinter Cells and you want more, then, you know, it's another option for you. And it's by Atari as well, interestingly. They don't really do much game publishing these days, do they? So yeah, we'll see how that one goes. So yeah, that's all my pickups. But quick jump cut there. You've got to be really careful how you say that. I did say that I was going to show off some digital games. Now, apart from the free games that I get from PS Plus, I haven't bought a lot of digital games on any consoles recently. Actually, I did buy Voodoo Vince on the Xbox One. It's like the remastered version of Voodoo Vince, because that looks like it's quite an interesting sort of 3D platformer from you know, the sort of Xbox PS2 generation, and they've remastered it, so that was exclusive to Xbox, I think. So yeah, I wanted to get that, but I've sort of bought a few games off of Steam, because I've got this new sort of laptop, which is actually a gaming laptop, even though I bought it mainly for capturing, but I wanted a really sort of well-spec'd one. The gaming laptop seemed to be more in line with the sort of specs I was looking at, and I thought, well, I'm not really a PC gamer. I have done PC gaming in the past, but there has been a few games on PC that I've had my eye on that, you know, I've really wanted to play, that you can't get on console. And even though this PC could probably actually run modern games really well, in fact some people might say that it could run them better than a console could run them, I'm still really more happier playing on console, without wanting to go into it too much. There's a lot of things I prefer about playing on console to PC, but you know, it was the Steam sale was on when I got the laptop, and I just sort of stuck my nose in. And you know, if you do get stuff on Steam, especially in the sale, you know how cheap it is. And I think I spent about £30, and I just got a ton of games for that, and it was all games that you can't really get on console. Some of them you can get on tablet, but yeah, I just really fancy playing, so I might as well just go through some of them while we're here. So if you're not interested in this sort of thing, then you could stop watching now, because the rest of this video is probably just going to be this Steam collection that I've got. So we've got Appointment with Fear. I might as well just sort of move that on there so you can see that. Yeah, Appointment with Fear. That's one of those adventure game books that I've talked about in the past. Beyond Divinity. That's an RPG. In fact, I got some of the other Divinity games. It was like a bundle, because I got Divinity Original Sin on the PS4, but there's quite a few games that came out before that in that sort of isometric strategic Western RPG style, which I really like. I mean, playing Baldur's Gate really sort of turned me on to how good those sort of games are. So, and obviously PC is where those games sort of live mainly. So I've got Beyond Divinity, I've got Divine Divinity, and I've got Divinity 2 Developer's Cut. These are probably all huge RPGs that are going to take me forever to play, but it's good that I've got them. I've got Blood, 1 Unit Whole Blood. This is like an old school FPS game. That's one of the other reasons, not just the RPGs that seem to live on PC, but it's some of these classic old first-person shooters. I mean, I'm a huge Duke Nukem fan. In fact, when I did play games on PC, Duke Nukem was one of my favourite games. And I never got around to playing a lot of the other. I mean, I've played Doom. I've played Shadow Warrior as well, which is another game on the Duke Nukem engine. But there's a few that I never got around to playing, so it's really good to be able to play these now. It can be a bit of a pain sometimes getting these old games to run, even if you buy them on Steam, especially if you want to play them with a controller. It's a bit of a faff getting them set up. But I did get this one up and running. I played sort of the first half a stage of it, and it does seem really, really good. I got Carmageddon 2. Quite a big fan of the Carmageddon, the one Carmageddon game I've played, which is the first Carmageddon. You might remember I got a Carmageddon game for my birthday last year from my brother. But I've got this one now as well, Carmageddon 2, so I can... I think this might have come out on the PlayStation, actually, Carmageddon 2, but I've heard that the version on the PlayStation and possibly the N64 as well aren't very good. So this is meant to be a bit of a PC classic. So yeah, can't wait to get into that. I've got Chaser, which is an old first-person shooter, which probably not many people know about, but I've heard some good things about it. I've had a little go of it actually. It's a little bit sort of low budget, but it's it's all right. The Dig, that's a point-and-click adventure. Divine Divinity, Divinity 2, showed them already. More isometric dungeon crawler Western RPGs, Dungeon Siege and Dungeon Siege 2. I've got Dungeon Siege 3 on the PS3, so I've got the full set now. Dungeon Siege and Dungeon Siege 3 never came out on the PlayStation. And I've got something that most of you will probably know, Fallout 2 and Fallout Tactics. Again, I'm really into me Western RPGs, trying to sort of scoop up as much of them as I could in the Steam sale. Funnily enough, I was actually just about getting around to playing Fallout 3. Believe it or not, I've never played much of Fallout 3, although I really want to. I really love Oblivion. I think Oblivion's like one of the best RPGs I've ever played. So I think Fallout 3 is probably going to be something I really enjoy as well. And because I never really thought I would have the setup to play... I was never really interested in PC gaming. I just thought that I would never play these Fallout games, but I've got them all now. Fallout 1, Fallout 2, Fallout Tactics, which I think is more of a sort of strategy RPG type thing. So yeah, I'm going to play those before Fallout 3, so it might be a while before I get around to Fallout 3. Got Heretic, which I've actually played. This is the only one of 2 games that I've played actually out of all of these, and that's a really good old school first person shooter, a little bit like Doom. I'd already played Hexen on the PS1, which is a bit of a ropey version, but I still quite enjoyed it. And yeah, the Heretic on the PC, well, as long as you can get a controller, because I don't like mouse and keyboard control at all. As long as you get a controller working with it, really good game. But in fact, some ways I'd say it was better than Doom. I know that's probably sacrilege to some people, but I thought it was really good, really good level design, really good, old school first person shooter. We've got Hexen 2, which I don't think is a first person shooter. I think Hexen 2 is a third person game, but yeah, I got it anyway because I think it was bundled in and I do want to play it. We got Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, which is I've actually got this, I think, on the Wii, because I think there's an Indiana Jones game on the Wii that you get this as an unlockable or something. But yeah, this is one of those Scum engine games, I think, like the point and click adventures, which I'm quite into. So I haven't played this one, but I look forward to getting into that. And Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which I did play this, and yeah, it was quite enjoyable. If you've played sort of games like, I talked about Monkey Island a couple of videos back, where I played Secret of Monkey Island and Secret of Monkey Island 2, and it's basically made by the same people, same engine, very similar sort of gameplay. But this one, that you just play through the story of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, or at least the video game version of it, the film Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I've got Cult Heretic Kingdoms, which is another sort of isometric Western RPG. Loom, another point and click game on the Scum engine. I've got a bundle with a load of them in. Outcast, which is an old game from about 1999, which I think is really good year for gaming, 1999. And this is like a sort of open world, sort of action adventure type thing. Apparently you needed a really fast high spec PC to run this when it came out, so hopefully my laptop could handle it, but that was nearly 20 years ago, so I'm sure it'd be fine. But yeah, I've heard very good things about that game, Outcast. Sacred, I've got Sacred 2 and Sacred 3 on the PS3, and funnily enough, I did show those in a video a while back, and I'd said that I'll probably never get around to playing Sacred because I haven't got a PC. But I have got a PC now, so I've got Sacred, so yeah, I can play that. I'll scroll this. Actually, no, I don't need to scroll this up because you can see the window here, can't you? And I've got a load of Star Wars games. Got Star Wars Dark Forces, which I didn't install because I've actually really beaten that on the PlayStation, but that's a really good old school first person shooter. I've got Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2. Don't know much about these Star Wars games, but I've heard that most of them are good. Jedi Knight Mysteries of the Sith. Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast. Jedi Knight Jedi Academy. A lot of these only came out on PC and Xbox, and yeah, I've heard good things about them. Knights of the Old Republic 2. I did talk about Knights of the Old Republic in my last video, and I really enjoyed that. Knights of the Old Republic 2 I think only came out on Xbox and PC, so it wasn't really on the cards for me at the time to play that, but yeah, got that now. Strife, that's another Doom engine game. I think that was the last game ever to come out on the Doom engine. So it's obviously an old school sort of first person game. I'm not sure if this might be more like a first person sort of action RPG than a like sort of a balls to the wall first person shooter like Doom, but it's the same engine, and it sounds like something I might get into. Some people have said that this is like an early version of like Deus Ex, it's that sort of thing done on, imagine Deus Ex on the Doom engine, possibly like that. And then last but maybe not least, I don't know, these are very old games, but they're dungeon crawlers. I did talk a little bit about dungeon crawlers in my last video, so I've got a few more now, and these are like some of the old school classic dungeon crawlers. So I've got Wizardry 6, which I have played a little bit. It's very old school. In fact, I actually bought an app on my iPad to map, so I could, like an RPG mapping app, because this doesn't have a map. You have to make the map yourself. I don't really fancy sitting there with sort of a pen and grid paper, so I got this app that I can sort of, a little bit like the way you do it in Etrian Odyssey, where you can sort of map out like that. It makes it a little bit easier. I've got Wizardry 7 and Wizardry 8. So yeah, that's my Steam haul. And bear in mind that all of those games in total came to about 30 quid, so that's pretty good considering some of those games are RPGs that could probably take me hundreds of hours to complete. That's pretty damn good value. So yeah, I'm sorry if the PC stuff was unexpected and bored you a little bit, but what you're going to do, you get a new laptop, mainly for capturing, why not get some games for it as well if they're cheap? But like I said, I'm primarily gonna stay a console gamer. Despite I've got all these PC games now. So yeah, that's that. This has actually worked out a little bit longer than I thought it was going to, but at least I checked in and made a video. So I don't know when I'll do the next one, but hopefully it won't be as long. But I will, I do plan to do another one eventually. So until then, take care.